Hi there. Here it is, week 4, Leading from Heart, May 11th, Tuesday, 2021. And I'm pleased to say I'm back here for 4 weeks in a row. That's awesome. So today, I don't have a long conversation to talk about today or a long topic, but I'm going to talk about living from what we don't want versus living from what we do want. So creating life from a place of possibility versus creating life from avoiding what we don't want. So oftentimes people, when I ask people, what do you want? They oftentimes don't know what they want. They can't say what they want. Um, they might say, I don't want to work all the time. I don't want a negative relationship. I don't want to be unhappy. I don't want to be living in scarcity. But, like it seems to be more natural to say what we don't want instead of what we do want. And again, it's hard to create a life that is going to be rewarding and exciting if we don't know what we want. But oftentimes, too, and I totally relate to this, been there, done that, still can do that lots of times. It's like I had a conversation with a coach a while ago this year, and I kept saying, I want more of, I want more of. But it's like, well, where am I right now? Right? What do I have? What don't I have? What do I want? Instead of, well, I just want more of. Maybe I don't have what I want to start with, and so why do I want more? Anyways, clarity is helpful for sure. And I find it fascinating when I do ask people, well, what do you really want? And they'll say, I don't know, or they'll say, I don't know, I know what I don't want, but they don't frame it that way. They just say, I don't want X. And a lot of times people are afraid to say what they want. If they know what they want, they're fearful of saying that because they don't think they can have it. And of course, if we don't think we can have it, then we're not going to put it out there. Just like we don't think we're going to succeed, we'll often not try. And so if they're afraid to ask for what they want, they're not going to say that. And if they actually don't believe they can have it, they're not going to say that, that's for sure. So I was thinking this morning, what's an example for myself? If I said, let's look at the opposite of what we don't want. Okay, so I know what I don't want, but I don't want to operate from that place. I want to operate from what I want. I want to create my life from what I want. So I want to be happy versus I don't want to be unhappy. What does happy look like for Heather? That was my question to myself. So I work a balanced number of hours. I have free time for myself and for my family. I have a loving partnership and a partner who's really supportive equally in our lives. I get to travel every year for 6 weeks with my family, maybe not all at once, but over the course of a year, we take vacation time for a total of 6 weeks. We could break that up, but it is 6 weeks time vacation with family. And then I have 1 week a year where I go away with my friends and we just hang out, and it's an annual event. And that's what I want. So that's something I really want. And then I want a career that serves the life I want, not a career that owns me. And then I don't have a life. So those are things I want. And then it's like, okay, how do I create that? From this place that I know what I want, I'm not operating from what I don't want, but also too, like when we say, I want to create a life of what I don't want. I know we wouldn't say that, but we can live that way. What I'm really doing is I'm creating life through the mechanism of avoiding what I don't want. So an example would be if I'm in or I've had a relationship that's not been successful and maybe it's been traumatic, whatever it's been a negative experience. And then I avoid, I don't want to ever have that kind of relationship again. So I say to myself, that's it. I'm not good at picking relationship partners, and I'm never going to have another relationship. And what I'm actually doing is creating that decision through avoidance. I'm not actually saying, well, actually, I haven't had a successful relationship. I haven't had a good relationship. And this is what a good relationship would look like. This would be what I want so that I can have a fulfilling relationship in my life. But instead of operating from that lens, I'm operating from an avoidance lens to make sure that I never get what I already had, which didn't work. So I'm not going to have any relationship. And that will guarantee me that I'm not going to have a bad relationship. But it's also going to set me up for a life of loneliness and most likely a life that's not very fulfilling. And I'm not saying, one has to get married and have all that, but, our lives are meant for being connected with other human beings, and sharing our lives with others is others that we love is natural as a human being. So if I'm creating through avoidance, I'm not going to have any relationship because that's safe. And I know I'm not going to create another negative relationship. And I often hear things like that from people who they come from operating from what they don't want. So that's one lens to look through, or the other one is to come from a place of creating the life you want and really knowing what that is. It's of no value to us if we don't actually articulate for ourselves what that looks like and how that would bear out. So people always say I'm stuck and they can't see a way out. And I do that with my own coach. Like, it's like he'll say something and I'm like, I don't know. It's like, sometimes it's because I don't want to have the wrong answer, which infuriates me because how the hell is he supposed to know? And he doesn't know. And he tells me, well, I don't know. If you don't know what you want, Heather, how can I tell you? And so, like, he pushes it back on me. And it's up to me to decide, what do I want to create in my life? It's not up to him. And as much as I might find that annoying, it's actually totally true. And that's why I hire him, is because he's able to see in me what I often don't see in myself. So when we come from what's possible, which is what I do want, we're looking outside of what is. So what is the status quo. And that's where we often say we know what we don't want, because what we have isn't working for us. So it's easy to say, I know this doesn't work for me. But it's not so easy to say, this is what I do want. And that's the whole focus of this conversation by myself is to look at our lives from that lens. So it could be, the status quo is okay. Most of us in life, sad to say, settle for what's okay. Not great, not ecstatic, just okay. And that's okay. If that's how people want to live their lives, there's nothing wrong with that. However, it could be just kind of mundane. I've been there lots of times, and just, not even been like totally unhappy, but kind of just coasting, like feeling like this is all there is to life. And I don't want to live there. I've lived there and it's not fulfilling. And yeah, I can be with that, but that's not what I choose anymore. And I have been with that, and that's not what I choose anymore. And so what is okay, but what could be comes from possibility, and what is like the status quo. It's the norm, it's what I know. And what's possible, often that feels scary because there's a bit of unknown there, but it also feels exciting and different, and there may be some adventure in that. And so playing with what's possible is much more exciting than carrying on with the mundane, what is the status quo, good enough, right? And I tell you, it's like easy to say and not always easy to do. Was working with one of my beautiful young female clients, and this person said to me, they're in a place of where things are like they're not happy, and knowing that change is probably the right way to go, but really struggling with believing that what got her to this place is safe, but knowing that it's probably not going to get her to the next level. And she said that. I know that what got me here is probably not going to get me where I want to go. And yet the fear of showing up differently in our leadership seems daunting. It's work, and it also seems scary. And so I get that. It's like, it's just easier to stay where I am. And that may be true, but it's not going to give you the life you want. And so she's choosing from really like saying, well, I don't want to be uncomfortable. Even though I know that that's probably the road or the journey to take, because that's going to serve me in moving my leadership forward and my career forward. The status quo, my story is that this has worked thus far and I trust it. And yet it's interesting because on one level we don't trust it, or we wouldn't be having this conversation. And I know in her heart, she knows or feels that something different is necessary, and her head is telling her, no, this is the way to be. This is safe. You know this. You're in control. So that's our ego, and our ego always wants us to keep us where we're at. And our heart is tugging at us to go another way. And leading from safety is for most of us is leading from armor. So it's safe, we're protected, we don't let people really see us, it's a veneer, and it feels really scary to move out of that and be seen in a different light, and to feel like we're swimming in water we don't know. But that's the willingness that's required to create a life that you want. It doesn't matter if it's at work or at home. It doesn't matter. If you want something different, coming from a place of what you want versus what you know or what you're currently doing, or from what you don't want, isn't going to serve you. And I say it's easier said than done, but it is possible. So most of us can look at places in our lives where we've made shifts or stepped into something that's really hard and scary, and so we know that we can do scary, but every time we come up against that again, it feels hard, and it feels sometimes not possible. But in our head as well, and in our heart, we do know it's possible because we've done it. Most of the people that I work with are very successful. And it's still like that resistance to pushing through what feels uncomfortable. So creating our lives from what we want is from what's possible. And creating our lives from what we don't want is creating from avoidance. Very different places to come from. And you'll have very different outcomes. So something to think about, and recognize that, your ego is going to push back at you when you try to stand in this place versus what is normal to you. Just wanted to look and see. Yeah, I had a question or a thought this morning when I was thinking about this, was really to think about how you might practice this. And so what might you play with? And, writing down some things in your life that you want to choose into and you want to create, versus avoiding something. So versus what you don't want. Think about that and create a list. What do you really want in your life, and what don't you want, and what would you create if you were creating a life that was avoiding what you don't want, versus stepping into what would you create if you believed it was possible. So what I want is possible. What I don't want is avoidance. And if you were to create 2 lists for yourself and take a look at that, and then from there, just practice stepping into some of those. Take baby steps and see, what do you want to create something different in your life, and what's possible, and how you might do that. And of course, you can always get some support around those things if you so choose. But just a way to look at what's next in your life if you're looking to make some change. What lens do you want to come through? Avoidance or possibility? I know in your head you would say possibility, but when we look at how we show up and how we make decisions, we often make them through the opposite of what we really want, because that's what we know, and that makes it safer, but it doesn't necessarily make it more fun or more enjoyable in the long run. So those are some thoughts. And before I sign off, I just wanted to quickly shout out that every time I do a live, which is once a week, I have an offer for 10 conversations a month. And if you're looking to have a conversation, just to explore, let's explore what might be possible for you. Give me a call, or you can send me a message on LinkedIn or on Facebook, and we can connect and set up a conversation and just explore. Nothing else, but I always say nothing ventured, nothing gained. And it might be something that really serves you to have a look at what's going on, what would you like to be different, and what's in your way. So that's 10 conversations a month, and we are in almost mid-May, which is shocking. So I've got a few booked, and looking for some more spaces for conversation and connection. And from there, I just wanted to mention Illuminate, September 2021. So this is a leadership program. It's called Illuminate, Unleash Your Inner Leadership Brilliance. And this is a program from September to December, so it's 4 months. And this is a program that really looks at how you be in your humanity as a leader, which sounds probably fairly odd, but it's really looking at how you show up as a human. So where are you armored, and where are you leading from heart? Where are you protecting yourself? Where are you not operating from a place of vulnerability? And shining a light within, so that we can really look at what would empower you to bring all aspects of who you are to your leadership. So one of the things I always talk about is that people talk about leadership all the time. Go online, you can find billions and billions of things on leadership, and all these leader statements, and all of that's great. And I've read a zillion books. Well, maybe not a zillion, but here's the thing. Practicing your leadership and reading about your leadership or observing other people's leadership is not what we're doing in Illuminate. In Illuminate, it's not about reading another book. It's about looking at how you're showing up. How do you receive feedback? How do you give feedback? What's your relationship with feedback? What is integrity for you? Let's break it down. Let's talk about and look at how you're showing up in integrity, where you have integrity leaks, where you're not being true to yourself, where you have lots of power and you're totally suppressing it because of whatever reasons, and we all have many. So this is the work that we do in Illuminate. And I just finally wanted to say too, like the concept of, being a leader in the stands. So you're up there, you're reading the books, you're watching everybody else, like I mentioned a minute ago, or you're on the court practicing your leadership. So in Illuminate, that's what we do, is we take a look at what's going on, how you're showing up, and where you'd like to show up differently. What would that look like? And then actually practicing that in your leadership over the course of the 4 months. So that's a program that right now I'm in my second cohort. We'll be running this program inside an organization in September, which I'm really excited about. And I have another program in September for those. It's not custom for any organization. And so that's what I'm speaking to now. So if you're interested in that, again, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or on Facebook, send me a message, and I will certainly get back to you. The other thing is that I have 5 one-to-one coaching spots a year for folks that sign up for annually. And I have right now 2 spots open. So if you are interested in having a conversation about what that might look like, I would love to have a conversation with you. And you can find me again through Facebook, send me a message, or on LinkedIn, Heather Beaton on LinkedIn, or Heather Beaton Coaching on Facebook. And from there, I'm going to sign off, and hopefully we'll chat again next week. Take good care. Bye bye now.